Time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here at the midpoint of the week. We continue to bring you the best in sports in South Carolina every night from 6 to 8. Glad you're with us. Hope you've had a great day. If you haven't had a great day, we're going to make it better. If you're stuck in traffic, stay with us. We'll help you get home safe and sound. Phil Kornblut here in Myrtle Beach with the Touchstone Energy Bowl. Will Pelagic back in the studio with the Professor Tom Hayes. Will's had a busy day up at Furman last night, over at Clemson today. We'll be hearing from the Tigers tonight. Brad Brownell early and Dabo Sweeney throughout the program as the Tigers began bowl practice today. Also, Scott Early will join us, our analyst on our broadcast here of the Touchstone Energy Bowl, to give us some X's and O's about the two teams that he's been watching throughout the week, prepare for that game on Saturday. And Lou Bezjak from the state newspaper, who's been up at Shrine Bowl practice throughout the week, will join us to give us his view on the Sandlappers and the Tar Heels as they prepare for that game on Saturday. You know, there is no let-up here in the state of South Carolina when it comes to all these great sporting events, and we'll bring it all to you tonight on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. We'll work in some calls. I know you've got some thoughts about two things of major relevance today. Number one, renewed strong talk now of expanding the college football playoff to 8 teams, though Greg Sankey of the SEC came out this afternoon with a statement and said, not so fast, my friends. And then the other thing is this story in the Charleston Post and Courier this afternoon that the Panthers are going to be building a team headquarters and a practice facility in York County, giving the Panthers a stronger hold in the state of South Carolina. A location under consideration is an 80-acre site where the former Knights played and where the Hornets practice facility off I-77 in Fort Mill used to be, 15 miles south of Charlotte. So it's good to see the new owner there of the Panthers reaching into the state of South Carolina, and we'll keep an eye on that story moving forward. So we have got so much to talk about. And, Will, you were up at Clemson. You saw the Tigers begin bowl practice, and I imagine they were anxious to get out there and get going.
They were, Corn. They were just in shells, so it wasn't like there was a lot of huge, heavy hitting going on there today. But the one thing that I think you can at least take from what we got to see a little bit of the first-team defense going against the Clemson scout offense, and also a little bit of the Clemson offense running against air. And the one thing that I took from just what we saw is that they believe that Notre Dame is going to use a lot of the same formulas that have been used against Clemson in the games where they've struggled. That being, of course, a lot of up-tempo stuff, a lot of quick game. They believe that Ian Book, who can get the ball out quickly, can do a lot of the horizontal passing game well for Notre Dame. They believe that that's going to be the formula that Notre Dame uses offensively, and I asked Dabo Swinney pointedly about that in comments you'll hear later on in the program. That's the one thing that concerns me about Clemson going into this game is if we see a performance from the secondary that runs similar to what we saw against South Carolina. Look, and I even said this, I was on the radio this morning at 105.5 The Roar, our great Clemson affiliate this morning, and I said something to the effect of the best wide receiving core that Clemson saw this season, Pro, was the unit that they saw 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago against South Carolina. I don't know if there's a better receiving core they're going to see outside maybe Alabama or Oklahoma that's left on the board right now. But I know that Notre Dame is not necessarily that particular group. I don't think they have the athletes to be able to run with South Carolina, but Notre Dame does have a quarterback that can get the ball out quick, and I think that is something Clemson should be readily concerned about.
Well, you know, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees would disagree with me, but because of their stature. But the thing that gets me about Book is he's only about 6 feet, I think.
Right. 6 feet, 200.
If I'm Clemson, I'm going to try to get that rush right in his face, make him move the pocket around, and you have those defensive linemen and quick linebackers on the blitz that if he has to get off his point, they can sack him easily. So I just see a lot of pressure on him to see if he can get the ball out quickly, and I see a lot of batted balls in this football game.
Any major news from Dabo today regarding injuries? Anybody dealing with anything? Any off-the-field issues? Everybody happy? Everybody still there? Everybody ready to go to Dallas?
The one thing we did notice, once again, no Cornell Powell. He's been kind of away from the team as I'm thinking that maybe he's looking at a potential red shirt or maybe even some people are reporting possibly a potential transfer. That's really the only casualty from the skill position players right now. The one real glaring issue was the fact that Mitch Hyatt was in yellow today, but we heard from Dabo Swinney afterwards and asked him if there was any particular injury or ailment that was befitting him, and he said that no, Mitch is fine. It seems to me like it was more like a senior maintenance day or something of that nature where he just wanted him off, and there was Jackson Carman, the freshman, was running with the ones at the left tackle, so that was a little interesting wrinkle. That's, I think, the one position on the offensive line where if Clemson had to go without Mitch Hyatt and go with Jackson Carman instead, I think they'd be okay, knowing how huge that guy is and how agile he is for somebody who is just a freshman.
He is a big, big dude. Also today, the American Football Coaches Association named their All-American team, and as a result of that, Clemson has 2 consensus All-Americans coming out of this season. Christian Wilkins is a unanimous consensus All-American in that he was named first team to the 5 All-American teams that count towards being a consensus All-American. And Cleveland Farrell also makes a consensus All-American list, having been named on 4 of the 5 lists. So gives Clemson 2 consensus All-Americans there. And Mitch Hyatt was also named a consensus All-American. So actually you've got 3 consensus All-Americans for Clemson this year from the All-American teams that have been announced. And also today, as part of that American Football Coaches Association All-American team, USC's Deebo Samuel was named a first-team All-American as an all-purpose performer. So nice to see these guys get this sort of recognition. So let's dive into the big elephant in the room now, and that is playoff expansion. And this does not surprise me because people who drive college sports in some form or fashion, whether it's the media or administrators, whatever the case may be, they can't help themselves. Being satisfied with good enough is not good enough, and it's in every form of collegiate sports. And so now is it the best thing to do to go to 8 teams so that number 9 and number 10 will be ticked off and we'll eventually go to 16 teams? I mean, where do you stop this train?
Here's the problem. Look at who it's coming from. It's coming from the conferences that are not satisfied. It's coming from the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the Big 12, these conferences that either had to back their way into the playoff or have been shut out of the playoff altogether. That is the issue. And that's why I don't know if the necessary whether this messages hold any water, in my opinion, just because it seems to me like when you're looking at this playoff, I think this year is the ultimate argument against expansion, because I still, at this point, unless Oklahoma pulls an upset over Alabama, I still do not see a team that can even be on the same field as Alabama or Clemson. And that's why I don't want 8. That's why I don't want any more than 4. I don't want 16, 32, 64. I don't want any of it.
But, the real quick coach speak is you don't have to be the best team all year. Just be the best team for that particular 60 minutes. And that's all they want. They want to roll of the dice. Now, my feeling is I think it's coming from some people who also are suffering from Alabama, Clemson, and to a lesser extent, Oklahoma fatigue. Wait a minute. These teams, every year they're here. Let's get some variety shaken up in here. And you knew it was going to happen. But I think they have it right here.
People in the NFL aren't wanting a realignment of the National Football League because the Patriots win the AFC East every year. I mean, come on, this is stupid.
Nothing will change along those lines as long as the TV ratings remain strong. And you're not going to do away with the conference championship game. Sankey has made that clear with the SEC championship game drawing the largest viewing audience of any college game this year, and that's pretty much a regular thing. And if Greg Sankey doesn't want it, it's probably not going to happen. Brad Brownell is coming up after the break.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. A couple of coaches in the ACC getting themselves extensions over the last couple of days. Steve Adazio, Dino Babers just got himself some more money in a press release on Wednesday night. They did not announce the length or financial terms of the contract because Syracuse, being a private school, they don't have to do that. But more money coming to these schools in the ACC Atlantic Horn that can't exactly compete with Clemson, at least on the football field, but they're trying, at least with stability, which I think is the right move for a lot of these schools because changing coaches isn't going to get it done. You need to keep a tenure in place, in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you like the guy. He's doing a good job, and holding the staff together is important as well when it comes to recruiting. That's a key element there. And listen, Dazio's done a heck of a job at Boston College, and I think that program will just continue to be a contender. And in the East, or in the Atlantic, and talking about the ACC, of course, trying to jump over Clemson will be easier said than done, but they will still be, I think, moving forward, a team to deal with there in that division, and from time to time will rise up and surprise you. All right, coming up here on Sports Talk, more from the Touchstone Energy Bowl, more from the Shrine Bowl. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney as well. But right now we have with us Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell, getting a chance to kind of catch his breath this week before getting back into the hard stuff. And I'm talking about basketball hard stuff. Coach, good evening. How are you?
Doing fine. How about you guys?
We're great. Thank you for joining us. So, first of all, update us on Marquise Reed and his knee and how that's coming along as you look forward to your next action.
Well, it's coming along. It's probably not coming along as fast as I would like. I would say he's probably doubtful here this weekend, and I don't know even about next week. We'll just have to wait and see. He's just starting to do some things where he's kind of walking on an alter G, and we're just going to have to see how it responds to everything. So obviously it's been a little bit of a frustrating start with Elijah kind of being hurt early in the year, and now Marquise going down, but you just gotta go through it, plow through it, and we're in the process of trying to work our way through it right now.
Is it possible the injury is a little more serious than you guys first thought, or do you have it?
Yeah, it might be. I think it might be. Just I think they kind of looked at it the first day, after or whatever, got the check on it, and it knew it was sprained, and then as they kind of evaluated, I think they think it's a grade 2 MCL sprain, and now you just got to kind of wait and see. It's kind of different with every kid, but he certainly is rehabbing and working his way and wants to be out there and doing everything he can in terms of rehabbing. But sometimes you gotta wait, let nature take its course a little bit and let things heal. And that's kind of what we're doing right now.
All right. Very good. How do you feel about where you are right now? You got off to the great start, but 3 losses in your last 4 games, and Mississippi State, a very good team, shot the lights out against you. And I know you don't, with your defensive reputation and your what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm drawing a blank.
Usually we're fairly consistent defensively. We were not that game at all. And you know what? We've been probably just average defensively for most of the year. I think we've been a little better early in the year and done some good things, but we've been inconsistent, and especially defending the 3. And in some games we've put more emphasis on other things, but certainly Mississippi State game, that was a major problem. And they are a very talented offensive team, and when they start making shots, they can be hard to guard. We just, we've been a little bit. It's been hard. It's been a hard year so far, just to kind of get any kind of rhythm. We just haven't been able to get a flow of play. I think Eli now has had, 10 days, 2 weeks of practice, or close to 2 weeks now, and I think he's really coming around. He played very well against Mississippi State. We feel like we got him kind of going in a good direction, playing in a good way. Obviously, Marquise now being out, that's our leading scorer and a major offensive player for us. You know, so I don't think we've really been able to hit on all cylinders yet. I think we've been a little bit inconsistent just in terms of both ends of the floor. We're not shooting the ball as well as we'd like. Probably rushing a few things in terms of some offensive things and not shooting the ball as well because of it. And then defensively, we've had a hard time guarding the three here lately, and certainly we're working on that.
Yeah, the word I was trying to grab was emphasis, and I think you used that word. So the emphasis on defense, I know how much you put on that. And part of the problem that you had a couple of years ago was those guys weren't really buying in on defense. Last year they did. Are you taking a step back on defense?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think the numbers would show that. Last year we were outstanding, top 30 in the country. And this year just hasn't been the case. And some of it's health, and some of it hasn't. You know, we haven't had very many days where we've had enough bodies to really practice. Malik Williams concussion has only been out there about a week and a half. Trey Jemison, knee injury, only been out there about a week and a half. So, you know, when you're going all of September, October, and really most of November, and you don't have, you know, your full team, and it's hard to practice well. And if you don't practice at a pace that you need to, and you're constantly, you know, shortening things and worrying about things because of injury and lack of numbers, then it's hard to get better. And I think the best way, and especially early in the year, up until Christmas, you need to be getting after it. You need to be competing with one another. It needs to be good on good as much as possible. And then in January and February, in the heart of your league, that's when I've always tapered off, backed off, shortened practices, you know, done some other things. But I think you really got to build habits early, and we've had a hard time doing that. And so, you know, our guys have just got to do a better job. We got to coach them better. We got to figure out some ways to make them understand that we're going to have to defend at a higher level if we're going to be successful. And right now, we just haven't been able to do that consistently. We've had a few games where we have. We beat Georgia, playing very well on the defensive end of the floor and rebounding against strong athletic team. But in some of the other games against Creighton and Mississippi State, we really did not defend well at all.
Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell joining us here on Sports Talk. Coach, it's my opinion, looking at your team, that your team is best equipped when you have four guys who can be double-digit scoring threats. And right now, at the most point in time, you're getting really no more than three. Is that fourth scorer on your roster when you guys are at full strength, or do you still need to find that?
No, I think we've got four guys when we're at full strength. I mean, I don't see why Shelton Mitchell, Marquise Reed, Amir Sims, and Elijah Thomas all can't score double figures, and David Scarr is going to get double figures in certain games. So I think when we're healthy and when we're in a good place, I think we've got 4 or 5 guys that can get us double figures, and we can get enough points in most games to be good. You know, so we got to get everybody healthy. We got to get everybody in the same rhythm. Offense is a lot about rhythm and timing and execution and flow and confidence. And sometimes when you're not practicing with everybody all the time, that you're disjointed, and when Eli wasn't healthy, didn't have him in practice. We don't play the same when he's not our center. He's a different type player than Javen White. And so the emphasis changes, and you know, so you're not working on some of the things that you like to work on. And then now Marquise being out, he's obviously our leading scorer. And so now we're trying to do a few other things. And it's opened up opportunities for guys. Some guys are taking advantage. Some guys have not maybe stepped forward as much as we would like. Some of our younger guys are still a work in progress, and that's part of it. We understand that. A guy like Clyde Trapp, we think, is beginning to take some steps forward. He's really started to practice consistently well the last couple of weeks, and he's had some games where he's played well and done some things that we really like and feel like he's moving forward in a good way. And so I think it's been good for him because he's gotten a little more time, especially with Marquise out. But I think we do have enough when we're healthy. I think we have enough to get to the numbers we need to.
Coach, as always, we thank you, and good luck this coming weekend and moving forward. Look forward to talking to you some more and seeing you at the basketball games here as we transition more deeply into the basketball season. Thanks for the time, sir.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thank you very much. Brad Brownell, Clemson basketball coach. So that news on Reed really does not sound promising at this time, guys. It could be a little while before we see him back.
To be honest, I didn't expect it to be any more than that, honestly. It is Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We'll take some of your phone calls as we go throughout the show at 800-956-7266. You can tweet us at SportsTalkSC. Be sure also to vote in our poll question, who is the state's best defensive player, as we continue to kind of look at some of the year-end stuff with regards to not only South Carolina and Clemson. At last check, Christian Wilkins still had the lead. Corn, you can check me and make sure that that is still the case, I believe.
Yes, I think that he has been sort of the guy out front, and probably he should be, considering all the other accolades he has received. But he's at 35% of the votes. We've got 776 votes cast, 29% for Javon Kinlaw, 24% for Cleveland Furl, 12% for TJ Brunson. With Kinlaw, and I guess it's, he's going to miss the bowl game, and that's a shame. I guess he's going to miss the bowl game with the hip injury. We'll find out more from Will Muschamp next week when he meets with the media.
Or tomorrow when we have him meet with the media in Charlotte.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the meeting up in Charlotte tomorrow. Yes, you'll find out more tomorrow. But what I was going to say is, assuming he comes back and doesn't do anything, he's already said he is coming back. So assuming he sticks to that, I mean, he's got a chance to be one of the dominant defensive linemen in the SEC. If he continues to improve at the rate he improved from 2017 to 2018, he'll be a monster in the middle of that defensive line, and he will demand double teams, and that should open things up for other people on that defensive line. I'll tell you what, I got to believe if he picks everything up quickly enough that Zach Pickens is going to start from day one, or play a lot from day one, or perhaps start from day one, and having him on one side at defensive end, Aaron Sterling, and Wanham on the other side, they got a chance to have a pretty good, solid defensive front next year. And I really like the improvement of some of these young guys right in the middle as well. And I think they've got a chance to have a really good-looking defensive front next year.
Should be interesting. And my question about South Carolina is kind of where their motivation is going into this bowl game with all the players that they won't have playing, and we can talk more about that as the show continues to go on. Clemson has no shortage of motivation going into their Cotton Bowl matchup with Notre Dame. They had their first practice of the bowl season earlier today at the Poe Indoor facility, and also getting some work outdoors on what was a pretty nice day for football in Clemson. Here's a little bit of what Dabo Swinney had to say when he addressed the media just a couple of hours ago.
Oh, it was good. The energy was really good. The guys were eager to get out there and get going. But I thought you had a few guys I could tell had finals brain. They're in the midst of it, and we got another big wave at 3 o'clock today. So, but it was good. We just need to get back out there and get going. They've had a nice break. I gave them a little bit more time on the front end than we have in the past couple of years, just because our schedule is different, because we're not going to have as long a break on the back end because we play on the 29th. So we changed that up just a little bit, but good, really good meetings. I like the mindset that they have and understanding what we got to do to get ready to play in 16 more days, I guess. So we're excited, or 17 days. So we're excited about just getting back out there and getting going. Tomorrow I don't think we have any finals going on with our guys, so I think a little more focus. We'll ramp it up, be in Shells tomorrow, and we full pads Friday and Saturday.
When you talked about the experience of being able to go through this process before, how much does that help you in organizing the prep and making sure, just having gone through this a couple times?
Well, it definitely helps. I mean, there's no question. I think we all draw on our experience, good and bad, as you go through whatever it is you're doing. But this is our 4th time in a row, and then we've been in a lot of big bowl games and stuff. So I think we've learned a lot over the years. I think we've got a very good formula that we believe in as far as how we get ready, and a good balance. I mean, I think that for us this time of year is multi. We have a lot we got to do. Obviously you got to get back. You got fundamentals and technique and physicality and intelligence is what wins. And, because these are all 4 really good teams, and there's just a few plays that usually make a difference in these type of games. So you got to play well, and, so you got to prepare well. So for us, it's having the right balance in, getting our opponent prep, but also, really sharpening ourselves up from a fundamental technique standpoint. And then it's a long time from a physicality standpoint. So you got to make sure you get a good mixture of good on good. And because you can't just show up on December 29th to start tackling somebody. So you gotta have a good balance. And I think our experience, I think really helps us as far as striking the balance that we need from a preparation standpoint, how we manage the schedule.
Mitch was wearing a yellow jersey out there. What's up with him? And just precautionary. What's up with Mitch?
Oh, ain't nothing wrong with Mitch. It's just a nice day off. That's it. No, he's fine.
I found it fishy that that guy wasn't practicing. But again, it could be something that either we don't know of or something Dabo thinks is just a lingering thing that will be fine by the time they get to Dallas.
Could he have a major exam he wants to deal with? And
he was there. He was
clear?
stretching. He was running. He was doing some individual drills. He wasn't running with the guys out there collectively. But again, who knows?
But Dabo is right. You know, a game like this, a few plays can wipe you out. And what we mean by that is not just one play beats you, but it starts a wave of momentum that sometimes a team can't stop.
Hasn't Hyatt had a little bit of something going on here in the last few weeks? Like a little, was it a knee thing he had going on? Or
there was a couple stingers.
There was a shoulder thing going on?
It was a shoulder thing.
Yeah,
and,
so that
was in the South Carolina game, though, I thought.
You know, they can afford to rest him if necessary here during these early part of the practice sessions, but I'm sure he'll be healthy and ready to go by the time they go to Dallas. So, all right, so we're off and running with our coverage of the teams in their bowl games. You know, the bowl games begin this weekend. They come flying at you. We've got the New Orleans Bowl, which kicks things off on an annual basis. So we want to thank ESPN for putting this together for us. So we'll have a tremendous matchup to watch on Saturday. Actually, we've got 5 bowl games this Saturday. Not counting, of course, the Touchstone Energy Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, but you've got in New Orleans, the New Orleans Bowl, Appalachian State, and Middle Tennessee State. Seems like Rick Stockstill's got his team in that game every year.
Yeah.
We have the always anticipated Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Eastern Michigan versus Georgia Southern, the Las Vegas Bowl, Arizona State and Fresno State, the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Let's thank CBS Sports Network for this one, Tulane and Louisiana, and the New Mexico Bowl, North Texas and Utah State. So ESPN will have 3 of those games. ABC will have the Vegas Bowl, and then CBS will have the Cure Bowl. And then we take a couple of days off. It resumes on the 18th, the 19th, the 12th. Practically every day starting on the 18th, we're going to have a bowl game or 2 to enjoy.
It's fine. I like it all. It's fine.
Yeah, like you. I mean, look, bowl games are what they are. They were created to be a reward for the teams having a good season. Now everything's been watered down because we've got so many bowl games. Oh, let's don't forget we add another one next year here in
Myrtle Beach Bowl.
in Myrtle Beach. Yeah, we got one coming here. So you know the list continues to grow, and you know Eddie Fogler, bless his little old heart, used to always bitch about the fact that so many, percentage-wise, such a great percentage of football teams got a chance to go to the postseason, and from a percentage standpoint, so few basketball teams got a chance. And everybody, you know, it was his defense, and justifiably so, when people would say, you know, you need to make the NCAA tournament every year. When Mike McGee and Fogler were at war, and McGee said the expectation was the tournament every year, and Fogler being a math major at North Carolina back when they actually gave you real degrees, he countered by saying, look, you know, this percentage of teams make the NCAA tournament every year, and nearly half the football teams make it. So that's where your expectation should be every year, is with the bowl games.
Like I said, though, and we talk about this when it comes to picking these games, it all just comes into who's happy to be there, who wants to be there, and a lot of times teams just look at a bowl as almost being a disappointment, especially if you've been to the last couple of years. But for a team like Virginia, after getting blown out last year, they might actually be more motivated to play in a bowl this year.
They're motivated because they've lost to their rival 15 years in a row.
Happens.
Okay, we'll be back. We got recruiting coming up in just a moment.
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
You know, as we get closer to recruiting corn, something Dabo Sweeney said that we'll spotlight a little bit in the second hour when we talk about Notre Dame is that he's actually been able to probably watch a lot more game tape on Notre Dame than he would have normally done at this point going into bowl practice, because he's had a lot more playing time and dead time because he was out in California going out to see all those West Coast recruits that Clemson's going after.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about that in just a moment. Let's give you the recruiting report for tonight. And one player he's no longer going after, as we touched on last night, is offensive lineman Ja'Kai Moore out of Nokesville, Virginia. His coach, Brood Bicknell, tells us that it's South Carolina, Penn State for him, and that Clemson wanted him to visit this weekend. But Moore's got a basketball game on Friday. Wouldn't get in until Saturday, and Clemson just didn't want to do a 24-hour visit. So that's basically fallen through the cracks there. And perhaps Clemson, as he said, is moved on to some other people. For example, they're still waiting on Will Putnam to make a decision. More on that coming up in a moment. Anyway, South Carolina remains very much involved, as is Penn State. They're the finalists, and Penn State head coach James Franklin will be in tomorrow, and USC's Will Muschamp will be in on Friday, so he'll get the last in-person visit with him. Now, they're going to have to work around Moore's basketball game because the rules prevent them from talking to him prior to the game. So they'll be around the school, the coach said, and then they're going to sit with his mom during the basketball game and then get with him after the game to talk with him. So it'll be a long day there for South Carolina, but they feel like it's time well spent. Moore took an official visit to Penn State last weekend. He went to USC back in April. He went to both unofficially during the season. Coach said that he's hearing similar things from USC and Penn State and getting a lot of love from both of them. So the plan is, according to the coach, for Moore to announce his decision on signing day next Wednesday, and the plan is to keep that information under wraps until then. As far as if he makes his decision prior to it, he'll wait and announce it on signing day. And he wants to surprise everybody, the coach said. As far as the logistics related to the announcement on signing day, that is still being worked out. Coach does not believe or couldn't sense a leader between the two right now. Talked to the coach at Plant High School of Will Putnam down in Tampa, Florida today. He's in close consultation with the family, Coach Robert Wayner, and he said that Putnam remains undecided with Clemson, Florida State, and Auburn, the finalists. As you know, all of them were in the end of last week, and he is not expecting a decision from him till the first of next week. This is according to the coach now. Of course, the kid could wake up any morning now and decide to go ahead and put it on social media. But as of right now, unless I'm seeing something here pop up on Twitter as we talk, I'm going to see if this is a tweet from the kid or not. Let's see here. I hate to be stumbling around here. I see a tweet from Will Putnam as I'm talking. I want to say thank you to everyone who has followed me throughout my recruitment. I appreciate the support. And that's the tweet. I'm wondering if an announcement is about to take place here, guys.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this is happening as I'm talking. That's why I'm kind of stumbling around here, but that just was tweeted out by Putnam. So we'll keep a close watch on that. Coach told me today, though, or tweeted me or texted me today and said he was not expecting anything until next week, but we'll keep an eye on that. Offensive lineman, defensive end Cooper Dawson of Hanahan. Hey, Will, would you keep an eye on that while I go through this?
I'm looking at it.
Okay. Offensive lineman, defensive end Cooper Dawson of Hanahan said he won't take any official visit this weekend in all likelihood. He plans to stay home and think about his decision. He's close to making one, plans to announce on the 19th. He was offered by UCLA on Tuesday, and so interest continues to build for him. But now that he's got that opportunity to go to Clemson straight up without a gray shirt, that's big with him. But I know he really enjoyed his officials to Syracuse and UCF. He's also been to Army and Tulane. Cornerback Chris Steele of Bellflower, California, named a top 5 to 24/7 Sports of USC, Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Southern Cal. Of course, the Gamecocks and Gators are perceived by some recruiting followers as the favorites, though he's not publicly stated that. Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley and assistants were in last night. Florida assistants are due back in today. USC coaches were there on Sunday. He'll sign next week, but he won't announce until the Army game. The interesting thing about this is he has tweeted out a picture with the coaches every time they've come in for a visit, but didn't do that with Will Muschamp when he was in last weekend. So I don't know what that means. Maybe that's a message of some sort, but he did not do that. Muschamp and 3 assistants visited with committed receiver Kevion Mullins of Memphis yesterday, and while there, I imagine Muschamp went by to see running back Eric Gray, who visited last week. Gray is supposed to visit Tennessee this weekend. You mentioned Sweeney. He and assistants were out in California to check on their committed receiver, Joe Nagata, and also they checked in on quarterback DJ Ugalele of Bellflower, California. They couldn't talk to him because, of course, he's an underclassman, but they could check in on him. And that is it for now. Anything else on Putnam there, Will?
I see nothing from that, just that particular message.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if he is hinting at something to come here shortly.
Maybe he's made his decision, but still wants to keep things somewhat, I don't know, somewhat ambiguous. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we'll watch this and see. I mean, listen, it's going to come out on social media, and again, could happen most any time, or it could be something that he's just putting the word out there that he appreciates everything and something will be coming here sooner than later. All right, so we'll keep a watch on that as we move forward here tonight on Sports Talk. Story in the Charleston paper coming out this evening, kind of interesting. Charleston paper being very busy today. Federal judge has ordered the College of Charleston's AD, Matt Roberts, and baseball coach Chad Holbrook to hand over cell phones, computers, and tablets to a forensic expert. This is part of the ongoing lawsuit filed by former baseball coach Matt Heath. He is suing for wrongful termination back in July of 2017. One of his allegations is that Roberts already decided to hire Holbrook before he was fired. On the 17th, the school denies the claim. Now, I don't know the law at all when it comes to this sort of stuff, but what's wrong with that if you're an athletics director already making your mind up on making a change, knowing who you want to hire, and if that guy is available, going ahead and working towards that deal? I mean, usually when an athletic director makes fire somebody, he's got somebody in mind who he wants to hire.
I mean, the one thing that, I mean, it might be something in his contract from that perspective. It might be something where contractually he can't be contacted or something. I don't know. To me, it seems like they're grasping at straws from that perspective.
Well, it seems to me what's happening is he wants to argue that he really did not have the necessary due process that he should be afforded.
Right.
He did not get to talk to the president. He did not get a chance to bring in witnesses to refute the points that the AD was making about his behavior or the treatment of athletes.
And that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to fire somebody for cause, you can't necessarily have this other guy waiting in the wings from that perspective, in my mind. I think that's what they're trying to prove here from that perspective.
If you're going to fire a guy
for cause, like what they did with Heath, they're trying to say they fired him with cause.
Exactly.
I'm just saying
he had been involved with some NCAA things,
right?
And
I guess
I don't know. I don't know the law. It seems to me if you're an AD and you know you're going to be making a change, whether it's especially if you're making a change with cause, because you know you're going to be doing it, you would already reach out to people who you want to get lined up as potential replacements.
I don't think you can officially do that, though, while he is still employed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see where that goes. And we go to the top of the hour break here on Sports Talk. Scott Early is going to catch up with us here after the top of the hour to talk about the players here at the Touchstone Energy Bowl.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Wednesday night. Good to have you with us all across the state. Phil Kornblut here at the Touchstone Energy Bowl. It's Touchstone Energy Bowl week here at the beach. Will Pelagic, who was at Furman last night, Clemson today. He'll be in Charlotte tomorrow. He's trying to become me with all this traveling across the state. Good for him.
Racking up the frequent flyer miles. Oh, wait. No. Never mind.
No. You're wearing out your car is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Professor Tom Hayes, who just kicks back and shares his unique perspective on things with us here on Sports Talk. They're in the studios in Columbia with, of course, the great Brian Leonard. Another tweet from Will Putnam, and he says, by the way, I will not be committing tonight, just so you know.
I told you, man. It's just these guys like to be ambiguous, man. That's all it is.
It almost sounded like he was pleasantly trying to tell everybody, leave me alone.
Well, I mean, nobody's bothered him because he does almost no interviews, almost none, nada. And
no, that's
so
the guy from
it's not like he's been bothered, and he's made it pretty clear early on. So he does say, for those wondering, no, I am not committing tonight. So like his coach told us earlier today, he does not – the kid is really having a hard time making a decision. I know some of the Clemson sites I shouldn't say some of the Clemson sites. I mean, I think in particular Tiger Illustrated has kind of pegged him towards going to Clemson. I don't know about the others, but they've sort of put their thoughts that he's on the line that, you know, he's going to end up with Clemson, and maybe so, but apparently he has not made that decision yet, and it's something he is still pondering, and it might not be until next week before he gets around to it. All right, we have, of course, some outstanding football players here at the beach. They worked out twice again today over at Myrtle Beach High School and also at Coastal Carolina as we get ready for the Touchstone Energy Bowl. Coach Scott Early, who will be on the sidelines as part of our broadcast again this year with his expert analysis of the games. Joining us now here on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good, Phil. Hope you are. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. And wanted to catch up with you on today. I wasn't able to make it over today for practices, so I wanted to catch up with you on how things went today, both in Myrtle Beach, and then you guys shifted over to Coastal. How did everything go from that transition standpoint?
Went very good. You know, had a little better weather today, and had two great practices in Myrtle Beach this morning, north and south, and then went to Chili's and eat some good food there on 44th Avenue in Myrtle Beach, and then went on to Coastal Carolina, and you know, kids were excited to be there on the teal turf with the gold end zones, and had a visit from Matt Hogue, AD there. Me and he kindly stayed and watched the entire practice. Had a lot of dignitaries and VIPs around, and the kids had a great time. Had two great added practices, one on one end and one on the other in the stadium, and went to Southern Comfort and fed everybody some good country cooking, and now we getting bedded down, getting for another long day tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll actually be at Coastal Carolina again in the morning from 9 to 11, and then we'll go to Golden Corral and take 55 underprivileged children from the Myrtle Beach Elementary School to eat at Golden Corral, and we'll give out a bunch of T-shirts and $100 gift cards, and then we'll take them to Target right there in Myrtle Beach and go shopping. Hopefully they can have a wonderful Christmas, and our players can have a wonderful moment. And you know, servitude's a big part of the game, and that's what we're going to focus on tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Now, I didn't realize, I know the deal at Target has been something that's been going on for a long time. I didn't realize that part of the experience was that the children also went to lunch with the players prior to.
Oh yeah, always. Since me and Brandon started that back in, I guess 2005, maybe 4. We take them they go to Corral and actually sit with the kids and, you know, eat ice cream with them, and we hand them T-shirts when they walk in the door, and then when we get finished eating, we just bust, you know, just cross right over 501 end up in the Target parking lot, and those folks at Target have been, wonderful over the years. And they open up, Target opens up their concession area to feed, free drinks, popcorn, and for all. So, the Thursday's always, to me, the best day of the game.
Sure. I know you've loved this from the outset when one of your former players really came up with the idea, and what a tremendous idea that was. So let me ask you, you've been back and forth throughout the week watching the teams work out and taking notes about this, that, and the other. Just give us your breakdown of the North first and then the South offensively, what you're seeing developing on the practice field with those two teams and what we should expect to see on Saturday.
Well, I think, starting with the North, if that's what you want me to do, I think that, the North football starts on the line of scrimmage, and I truly believe the North has, the better offensive line, bigger, and, just you can just tell, that those kids are really, really talented. I think their quarterback situation is really good. Terrell Jackson's had a great week out of Wren, and Raekwon Harley out of our Antoine Robinson out of Keenan. Both those quarterbacks have really looked polished and really done a good job running offense. And so, I give them the edge there. And it's I think this year a unique thing. Just throw it out there. I think these are the best two kickers we've ever had in this game. Ever. Patrick Masons from Walhalla and Andrew Well from Wando have been. I mean, I'm out there and the wind's blowing, it's 30 degrees, and they're making 65-yarders. I mean, it's amazing what both of these kids are really, really talented. So we call it even there. And, I think the North is, will be able to protect and move the ball. We'll move to the South later, but I think, the kicking game's even. I think the North has a huge advantage in offensive line play and quarterback play. And you never know, you've been doing this a long time. What you see at practice ain't necessarily what you see in the game, but, as of now, I've really been impressed with both quarterbacks and just the calm demeanor of the North, how they went about it, very low key and just go get the job done. And, Don and Wayne and Russell and Lynn and Brian and, all those guys are, they're all veteran guys, and they sort of had a very laid back, nonchalant, just enjoy the moment approach. And the kids have been relaxed, and I think they have really executed well this week with these conditions like they have been.
Mm-hmm. And what about the South offense?
Well, I think the South, I guess, now I have to be a media person, so I can be brutally honest like you always are. But I think the South's really struggling at quarterback. I think, that's going to be Jonathan Bennett, is looked good at times, probably more of an athlete runner than he is a thrower. And then you got Reed Sharpie from BC. And the thing is, I think the South's loaded with skill kids. I think they're better. I think they're better up front on the defensive line. So I give the edge to the South on the O-line, give the edge to the South and D-line and the offensive line of the North. But the North, the guy that stands out to me more than anybody in this game, or has been in this game in a while, is Tyon Evans out of Hartsville. He is just amazing. He's almost Marcus Lattimore-ish, if that's the word. I mean, he's just, to me, out of the 88 players we have down here, he's the guy. And I think that's could make up for the early look at deficiency quarterback. Not deficiency, but just struggled at practice. And then I think, the edge on the D-line would go to the South. And then, the linebackers and secondary guys, I think, are a wash. And then, Andrew Well from Wando, what a kicker. I don't know where he's going to school, but, he is, this kid's, he's going to kick on Sunday. Both of those guys are amazing. So that's sort of the breakdown so far. I think, with 2 days left. And tomorrow we're going to take the pads off. So we're about seeing all we're going to see. Now it's kind of polish up the mental part and the schematics and make sure everybody's on the same page. But really, really two good coaching staffs down here. For both sides, you got Dwayne and Chad Leafart sitting there coaching O-line, to the best offensive line coaches, in my opinion, in the state. Mitch Strange with the D-line.
All right, hang on. Coach, hang on 1 second. We'll come back to you and wrap it up in just a moment after the break. Scott Early with us here on Sports Talk.
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
Okay. Little extra music there. Here on the bumper side of things, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes, and Brian Leonard. Quick note on Will Putnam, if I may, before we get back to Coach here and wrap things up. We're going to hear from Dabo Sweeney in just a moment. According to Coach Wayner there at Plant High School, who's been communicating with me here in the last 3 or 4 minutes, said as far as Will Putnam is concerned, he thinks he's getting close. Spoke with him today. Decision probably next 24, 48 hours. So it could be end of the week. Clemson was in yesterday. Auburn was in today, and Florida State comes in tomorrow. These would be the assistant coaches because the head coaches have already been in. All right. By the way, Coach, according to the information sheet that he filled out for me, Andrew Weil, is it pronounced Weil? The kicker?
Wow.
Weil from Wando. It says here on his sheet he's committed to NC State.
Wow. Well, they're getting a good one.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, 2 guys I'm interested in watching on the defensive side, and tell me what you think about them if you've had a chance to put your eyes on them. The defensive lineman from Garrett on the South team, Dalmont Gordine, and then I know you can't miss this guy, number 99 on the North, the defensive end, Eric Watts of Sumter, who committed to UConn.
Yeah, that was one of the names I had underlined. I felt like I was on the CMAs when I got cut off there. But anyway, the music went out and I had to stop. But I mean, Eric Watts is another guy. I mean, he's people list people at 6'7", 240, and you're thinking, well, this kid's 6'7", 2. I mean, he is a tremendous looking athlete. He's looked really good. He got here late. He was on official to UConn. We didn't get him Monday morning till 10. But he's somebody that's definitely going to, come off the edge and make a difference in this game. And then which other you mentioned, it was
Gordine.
Gordine. I think you say it like that. Yeah, he's a force of nature also. But those on the line of scrimmage, it's so equal and so good. I mean, this may be 2 of the best OLDL combinations we've had in a while. I mean, we've got some really good linemen in this game on both sides of the ball.
Okay, and of course the game is Saturday. It's going to be temperature-wise, from what I've looked ahead to the forecast, like in the 60s. I know there's going to be a chance for rain, but that shouldn't keep people away. And the Touchstone Energy people tell me they're selling a lot of tickets. They're expecting one of their biggest crowds ever.
Yeah, I talked to the greatest weatherman in the country today, Ed Piotrowski. Me and him have been friends for years. He was a camera guy on the sideline when I was down in Myrtle Beach, and just a great dude. He's one of them, it's going to rain at 7:30 kind of guys. And he says Saturday we could actually touch 70 and the rain will be out by 10. So if we get sun in 70, this would be like maybe like a record since like 2003. So that's a good sign. I mean, I hope the kids deserve it after what they went through Monday and Tuesday. So.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Hey, listen, we thank you. I know you got to get back to duties. I'll see you tomorrow, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, sir. Scott Early, co-executive director here at the Touchstone Energy Bowl. Thanks to him for his insight, guys, on the teams and kind of breaking it down for us.
Certainly so. As we look ahead, of course, to that game, we look ahead to the Shrine Bowl, and we continue to look ahead to both the bowls from South Carolina and Clemson. We're going to hear, as Korn mentioned, from Dabo Sweeney, or from Will Muschamp, rather, and as well as Bronco Mendenhall tomorrow in Charlotte for their joint press availability at Bank of America Stadium as they preview the Belk Bowl there. We had a chance to talk earlier today with Dabo Sweeney. He's had, as I mentioned earlier, a lot more time on his hands when it comes to the recruiting because he's had to do a lot of cross-country flights, so he's been able to see a lot of film on the Fighting Irish, and we asked him just kind of his initial impressions on the team that they'll see in Dallas on December the 29th.
I feel like I'm probably more ahead than I've ever been from a prep standpoint at this stage, just because I've had a lot of playing time, a lot of long legs. So I've had a lot of time. Usually my playing time is up and down and in and out, and it's kind of hard to get get situated. But I've had a lot of time. I've seen, all their games and both sides, and have good feel for who they are and what we got to do from a prep standpoint. And same thing with our staff. So staff we had a staff day Sunday and Monday, and then we went recruiting again Monday evening, and then all day yesterday was a recruiting day for us. And then today, tomorrow, and Friday will be a little bit of a mix of prep, here, and also a little bit of recruiting, getting ready to hit the road right now, as a matter of fact. But again, and then it's dead period. So we'll go through Wednesday of next week. We'll give them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then just to kind of, we're going to grind them up pretty good here over the next week, and then we'll give them Thursday, Friday, Saturday to kind of almost like an open date type of schedule for us. And then we'll come back in here on Sunday morning, have meetings and a light practice, and then we'll head to Dallas on Sunday the 23rd.
I'm not asking you to be Nostradamus, but what are you expecting to see from them offensively?
See, there you go. There's our word. I know who Nostradamus is. I actually know who he is. So you did not get me today, but you're up. This is your first day of the word of the day. Do you have a word of the day?
That was the one.
Nostradamus? Okay. Well, I forgot your question. What was it?
What do you expect?
Whatever Nostradamus said. What was the question?
What are you expecting to see from them offensively?
Well, I think everybody is who they are at this point. I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't have some game plan specific type wrinkles, but when it's all said and done, we are who we are. They are who they are. They're going to do what they do. I mean, they won't vary too much from that. That's what got them here. And but at the end of the day, they're really good. Quarterback's a heck of a player. He's slippery. He's got a very good arm. The ball comes out fast. A lot of quick game. A lot of short passing game. A lot of screens. They do a good job getting the ball to the back in the passing game. But then they got two giants on the ends outside, 83 and 81. That just these guys are. There's some big, long dudes, and the quarterback has a really good feel of the back shoulder balls, and those guys have great body control. They're good route runners, so got a little slot number 10, 3 good backs, 2, 8, and 6, good up front. I think one of the better offensive lines out there, and we're just well coordinated. So I don't think that they'll vary from who they are. I mean, I'm sure again they'll have some game plan specific things to try to attack us, but when it's all said and done, they're going to do what they do.
I just want to make sure that was very unintentional out of me, but I really hoped that he would have gotten stumped. But I guess for once, Dabo at least knew what I was talking about.
I thought Nostradamus was that defensive tackle out of New Jersey.
No,
not that one.
That's not that one.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it goes back to a lot of the stuff I said Notre Dame I think is going to do. I think they're going to try to go a little off script corn, play a little quick game, try to get the ball down the field. Again, use the same formula that these schools that have been able to keep Clemson off balance, the A&Ms, the Syracuses, and the South Carolinas, use that formula to try and at least get some avenue and path to victory.
Yeah, man, it makes sense. And, I mean, you've got all this extra time now to get ready. This is the beautiful thing about the semifinals compared to the championship game is that you've got basically a month to get ready for your semifinal. Should you win, you've only got a few days to get ready for the championship game. So you can come up with a whole bunch of different stuff in this month. And, Brian Kelly has that reputation for having a great offensive mind, and you got to think they're going to show some new wrinkles. You don't think they've taken that South Carolina video and broken it down every which way they can and think to themselves, well, if we run those pod formations out there, is it going to confuse Clemson as much as it did when they faced South Carolina?
I mean, the other thing, too, you have to think about the fact that they do bring a very sensational running back in Dexter Williams, though, as we've seen, we haven't seen a team be able to run it on Clemson consistently all year. I think they have to know going in that if they're going to try and, beat their head against the wall and try to run it heavy against Clemson, that's a losing argument. You're going to have to be able to run it some, and they're great with the screen game with Williams, but asking them to run it 30 to 40 times against Clemson, I think, is a recipe for disaster.
And it's not going to mean a thing offensively if they don't make the quarterback uncomfortable for Clemson.
True.
Well, this Notre Dame team, you look at some of their numbers, they are impressive on offense. I mean, they convert 44% of their third down. So Clemson's defense is going to face perhaps a bit of a challenge in that area in getting Notre Dame off the field and getting the ball back to their offense. That could be a bit of a test for them. Okay, back with some Shrine Bowl talk in a moment.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, as we continue here on a Wednesday evening. It is Wednesday, isn't it? As we get you ready, of course, for the Touchdown Energy Bowl, which is on our network here on South Carolina Radio Network. Many of these same affiliates. We're getting ready for the Belk Bowl with South Carolina and Virginia, Clemson and Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl as well, both being played on December the 29th and both being played on December 15th, the Touchdown Energy Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, which we'll talk about next here, Mr. Cornblue.
Yes, the Shrine. It's just weird. You know, I'm used to doing Touchstone Energy Bowl one week and then the next week going up to Spartanburg and visiting with the folks there a few times, but not able to do so since they're both being played on the same day for the first time ever. And who knows what the future holds. There's talk of combining these two games into a single weekend and playing the Touchstone Energy on a Friday and the Shrine Bowl on a Saturday. If they can get everybody together, we'll see if that happens. But it's our pleasure to welcome in Lou Bezjak from the state newspaper, who has been making the trip up to Spartanburg throughout the week to watch practices. This guy's amazing. I kind of like to feel like he's like us, or maybe hopefully he feels like we're like him. He was in Spartanburg yesterday watching practice. Last night he's covering high school basketball for the state. Do you ever sleep?
A little bit. No basketball last night, but I did have, Spartanburg the last 2 days. It was fun. A little warmer today than it was earlier in the week. They actually got to go outside again for second time. They went the afternoon yesterday and then the afternoon today. North Carolina, they flip-flop. North Carolina practice outside in the morning, and then South Carolina practice outside in the afternoon. And it got a little bit warmer. Hopefully, weather for the games on Saturday hold off. I think Myrtle Beach might rain, and same up in Spartanburg as well.
So, Lou, how far behind are the teams in preparation as far as you can tell, because they've been forced to work so much inside, or are they behind? I mean, do you think they've been able to put everything in from an installation standpoint and kind of put together cohesive teams here?
Yeah, I think so. I think they really the attention to detail on that, going inside as much as they had, and a lot of walkthrough, a lot of more mental preparation, and then I think they got enough. They got a Coach Hayes from South Carolina team put them through a good practice in the afternoon. They went the full 2 hours, and I thought they looked good at times. There's a few things I know they need to work on. It was weird after North Carolina's practice. They actually were conditioning. I hadn't seen that. I know I hadn't been as many All-Star games as you, Phil, but I don't know, a team running after practice. I don't know. They had them there running back and forth, like for at least 5-10 minutes there. And that was a little different, maybe to get them back in the ones that had not been playing for a while, maybe get them back in the shape going.
Yeah, I mean, I got to believe, too, it's hard for them to work up a sweats and, kind of get back into shape because it's been so cold and they've been bundled up and going inside. What do you think of the South Carolina offense? What kind of things is Jackie trying to do with the offense, and who's kind of caught your eye?
Yeah, it's a little different. It's the two quarterbacks he took definitely had different styles. You got Davis Bevel, who's going to Pitt from Greenville, more classic drop back passer. He looks really good, 6'6", throwing the ball. I really been impressed by him. And you got Alex Meredith, who threw the ball early in his career, but when Coach Herron went up to T.L. Hanna and put in that wing T, he's been running it, and he's going to go to Army and play. So two contrasting styles at quarterback. You figure when Meredith's in there, they're going to run a little bit more and spread it a little out with Bevel. He took 3 tight ends, which usually sometimes you only take 1, but he took 3. So I think there's definitely going to be an emphasis in running the ball and blocking. You saw Gamecock commit Keyshawn Toney doing a lot of blocking. And I talked to him after today, and he said he was used to that earlier in his career when they were running the wishbone at Williston before they opened it up. So a lot more blocking with him and Luke Deal and the other tight end from BHP. So I think they're going to try to pound it with the two backs, Ford and Courtney Jackson from Abbeville. Dre Williams from Greer, he's been on crutches the last couple of days, so I'm not sure if he's going to go. And then Deontay Stanley today near the end of practice, he made a nice catch, but then he was out for the rest of practice. So we'll see if he'll be ready for Saturday's at receiver and going to Central Florida.
Hey, nobody from the ladder gets hurt, okay? We're tougher than nails. He'll be back tomorrow. You can count on it. Home of champions, baby.
I thought he was pretty good. I thought Cam Smith has played pretty well, and that secondary is pretty fun. A lot of Midlands kids in that secondary.
Yep, talking with Lou Bezjak from the state. Tell me about I want you to go in a little more detail about Cam Smith, the other Gamecock commitment in the game, the Pickens kid, and also the linebacker from Swansea headed to Clemson, Greg Williams. Your take on those 3, and also how much offense will we see out of Pickens? How much will they use him over there?
Yeah, the practices I think have been 3 practices. They hadn't lined him up in the backfield yet, but maybe he's saving that. Maybe for the goal line, I wouldn't put it past him. But he has been playing. He played on all the special teams. I mean, he was on punt, field goal, and everything. So looks like they're going to play him that way. And he's just impressive. I mean, just his size, and I look for him to have a big game. And I really caught kind of his joking personality. So he's really been relaxed. I think one of his teammates was getting interviewed today, and he hit him with a snowball, came up behind him. So he's really had fun, and I think he's really enjoyed the last 4 or 5 months. Once he got his commitment done, he's been at ease, and I know he enjoyed the state championship, even though they lost. Just the being with his team and everything. So I look forward to him having a good game. Same with Greg Williams. He really looks good out there as far as the size, and I think Clemson's getting themselves a good one. He got the size and put some weight on him. I think he can do multiple things in that defense at linebacker. And he talked about his up and down season. I mean, with everything that went on at Swansea, talks to him maybe transferring or not playing the senior year because of the coaching change and what happened. But he's glad he stuck it out, and he's enjoyed his senior year up to this point.
Have you had a chance to eyeball the North Carolina guys at all?
Yeah. And big. Last year I felt the same way. They definitely passed the eye test. Of course, there's more kids to choose from. I know some of them aren't there because they're playing in state championships this weekend, but I really like the quarterback, Howell. That's going to Florida State. And the Boykins kid looked good from what I saw. Derek Boykins going to South Carolina. So, yeah, they definitely passed the eye test, and I think they'll try and sling it around a little bit more maybe than the South Carolina team.
Have y'all been normally it's at Dorman. Did they move it to Spartan High because of the weather and going inside and all that?
That and maybe Chris Miller being on the staff with Coach Hayes at Spartanburg. I thought that maybe had something to do with it as well. And they were actually on a delay today. They were off yesterday. Students weren't there, and then they were on a 3-hour delay today. So maybe, plus they got the turf field there. They were able to walk their practice field. So I think that might have had something to do with it as well.
As far as just the way things go, Lou, how do you see these teams balance wanting this to be a showcase game for a lot of these guys, but also balancing the obvious the desire to win in this one?
Yeah, I talked with Coach Miller, the assistant, Chris Miller from Spartanburg, and actually Keyshawn Toney about that today. And they definitely want to win. I think it's been 4 in a row for North Carolina, and they definitely want to change that. I know talking to Coach Hayes during the months leading up to this, he wants to win. He's coming off championship loss too, so I think that he wants to get a win in under his belt. And there's a lot of state pride between this, and I think there was a little bit of trash talking between the two sides when they were out bowling the other night. Cam Smith said so. They definitely want to prove that they want to get back in and have that success they had back in the early 2000s, dominating this game.
Yeah, it has definitely shifted to North Carolina in the recent years. And this is the one time we can all get behind one team in the state, and that's the Sandlappers, and we certainly hope they do well. Lou, we thank you, my friend. We appreciate you very much, and enjoy the rest of the week in the bowl game up there.
You too. Have fun in Myrtle Beach, and thanks for having me on.
Hard to beat the beach, my man. Spartanburg's wonderful. Got a lot of great places to eat, as we know, Will, but it ain't the beach.
Hey, I've found another couple of places up in Spartanburg that you haven't told me about, and I had to find on my own. So I have a bone to pick with you in that regard.
All right.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
We have had a lot on our plate today on a Wednesday edition of Sports Talk. If you missed any of our sound from Clemson head coach Dabo Sweeney after their first bowl practice today, it is now on our website along with some photos from today's bowl practice. It's online at SportsTalkSC.com. Also, the latest recruiting reports on especially the target for Clemson, Will Putnam, getting ready to possibly announce within the next 24 to 48 hours. More on that, again, is at SportsTalkSC.com. Clemson was in Tuesday, Auburn today, and Florida State will be in Thursday with its assistants. And also on our website from last night, Corn, it's a shame we've waited till now to mention it, though. Number 23 Paladins once again victorious over Charleston Southern, 77-69, 17 from Noah Gurley, 16 apiece from Alex Hunter and Andrew Brown, and a real nice atmosphere over there at Timmons Arena last night, Corn.
Yeah, I noticed that when we had you on the air, and it just brought back memories to me of a different era and a different time in Furman basketball. I covered Furman basketball when I worked in Greenville in the early 80s, and they played at the old Memorial Auditorium, which is no longer with us, down in downtown Greenville. And the funny thing about Furman games then, I think the average age of the fans in the stands, especially those in the lower section behind the teams, where you'd want your most support, was probably about 65. I mean, it was like going to a Lawrence Welk concert. A polite clap was what you would get from the fans. I'm not knocking them. They were your terrific fans, of course, but they were an older group, and they weren't into standing up and making noise and trying to distract the free throw shooter and things of that nature. So, and Furman had some good teams back then, especially when Butch Estes was there. I mean, they were competitive and were competing for SoCon championships. But the atmosphere, of course, it was a dumpy arena. It was an older crowd, et cetera. But now you got Timmons, and they've actually redesigned Timmons to make it more basketball friendly. And ESPN showed a lot of highlights and talked a lot about Furman basketball last night. The place looked packed.
It was packed.
And it looked like the people were a young crowd, and they were getting to it.
Yeah, they are, and it's real great to see. And I said this last night on the program. They're getting a lot more out with the students, and people are starting to get behind this group. And it's something actually that Bob Ritchie spoke about last night following the 77-69 victory, where he said, playing for the first time in their home building as a ranked team did give them some jitters, but it's great to feel the support from the community, which they seem to have right now.
Man, proud of our guys. Proud of our guys. We are entering finals, and it's always a hard deal around Furman with finals. They're not easy, and so we've had to balance a lot. We have not got the finals break that teams typically take, and whoever's in charge of the schedule screwed that up. But we've had to go straight through, and we've had to be smart. We had to do this on a one-day prep, and you could see that by our press so late. And that's on me. We didn't finish the game quite as well as I would liked. But you know what? It was a deal where for some reason the last 3 games we've had really key second halves, and we've made some big runs to create some separation. And they shot the ball really well in the first half, and we guarded the ball, and we guarded the 3 better in the second half. We're able to get some stops, create some separation, and just didn't finish quite like I'd like. But we're always looking for life lessons to help us prepare for life after this. And the great lesson there with Trey Clark is most humans could have easily equated Andrew coming back to their role reducing and not having the mental preparation to be successful in a game like tonight.
What was it like for you to see Timmons Arena with the crowd it had for a December game and a non-conference contest? And it's almost a packed house. What does it say about what Furman basketball is doing to this community and what Furman basketball is doing for you?
It's exciting, and it's fun to walk out there. And I say this humbly, I've walked out a lot of nights, and there's not a lot of people out there. And I've been here since 2011, and I've heard all the rumors, and all the reasons why we can't. That Furman students don't like basketball games, and we're just a little bit out here in Travelers Rest, and we're not downtown and all that stuff. We've put a lot of blood and sweat equity in this program over the last 5 years. And we've kept this vision alive that we can win here. And we've kept this vision alive that we can do great things that this community can get excited about. And we want to keep pushing it. We want to keep pushing it to where it's not just about us winning, right? The thing that you celebrate is you get on Twitter and you get on social media and you got the FBI stuff and all the stuff in college sports is so negative. we got a group of guys that care about their academics. They care about winning in life. They care about working hard. They come and take red shirts. They don't have a lot of people that recruited them. All of a sudden, who's this guy? Oh, they lost 4 seniors. They're not going to be as good. And then all of a sudden, they play together. They play team basketball. They play pretty hard. You can see that they're connected out there. And so it's fun to watch if you're a spectator. And I think it's also pretty neat that we're doing it the right way and we're doing it with good people. And I think the more we get exposure to that, I think that people are starting to get excited about it.
I know that you don't look ahead, but you have a lot of underclassmen, as you said. How do you keep them from looking ahead to the trip to Baton Rouge next week by obviously having focus going into Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got to continue to look at the areas we can improve. And you know what? Give Charleston Southern a lot of credit. First of all, I thought they played outstanding, and I thought they played really hard. I thought they shot the ball with great conviction, and they made some great shots. They were really driving the ball hard. And so, it wasn't that we just played bad. They played really well in that first half, and I thought it was a really good game. But there's still going to be some things off the film that we've got to look at. And so you clean this film up, you figure out, the 3 things you got to take away from this that you got to improve on. You get that to your team, you work on that. And by that time, you're focusing on Wilmington. You put everything into Wilmington, and you just keep going one by one. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the only way you can do it. We've got to go be 1-0 on Saturday. And that's the only thing that matters in this program right now.
See, here's the thing. I love hearing from him. But he has the charisma and the eye of a guy who, if this team keeps winning, I know he's got ties to the area. His wife's from here. He's from here. But he'll have his pick of the litter if this team keeps winning.
First of all, Furman is one of those schools that's a sleeping giant. I mean, it's a nice, quiet campus, beautiful campus, as he said, near Travelers Rest. If they pack that arena, they will, Wofford will have a foil in that conference, in that area. And that's great to see that. The key point, though, is because his bench is not long, those guys know their roles. Anytime you win a close game, and Charleston Southern made them work, you get, 17 rebounds, 27 points, 6 for 11 from 3 off the bench.
Right.
Now that bench won that game last night.
At one point in time, their offensive boards, Corn, they were out rebounding Furman just on the offensive glass. They had more. Out rebounding. I'm sorry, Charleston Southern on the offensive glass. They had more offensive rebounds than Charleston Southern had rebounds at one point.
Yeah, that had to be disappointing to Barkley Radeball. What do you think of the Buccaneers watching them in person?
They're a team kind of similar in stature to like what a Citadel does. They're going to run and gun. They're going to try to jack up a lot of threes. They shot at 22 threes last night. And, I think they're still trying to figure out who they are. I think, the Big South for them will probably be it'll be a struggle, but I think they have some good building points. They got a couple of very nice guards and not as strong inside. So I think that really showed with Furman's ability to rebound. So that they're going to have to do it. They got to do it with finesse, I would say.
A couple of quick basketball notes. Kentucky loses one of their 5-star players. Quade Green announced he is transferring out of the program. And in basketball tonight, we've got a team in action in the state. Presbyterian is at home playing VMI. They're in the first half, 28-22. The Blue Hose leading there. So, this is sort of the calm before the storm, before the calm again, before the real storm in college basketball. It's exams time around here, so teams are down. They'll pick it back up starting this weekend. They'll go for a few days, a few games. Then they'll hit the Christmas break, come back from the Christmas break, have a couple of games before the turn of the year, and then we're finally into the games that really mean something. That'll be the conference slate.
Looking forward to it. Last week was really a dead week for a lot of people. I'm ready to get more meaningful basketball in the slate, and I know you said it in jest about the Bulls, Corn. I'm excited for the Bulls season. I'll be more excited to watch the Bulls season than I would any of the NFL rest of the way.
Who can't be excited to see a Herman Edwards standing on a college sideline?
Gasparilla Bowl, baby.
You got 5 to choose from on Saturday. Help yourself.
I'll be all over it, making a pot of chili.
Hey, a reminder, Will be up at Charlotte for the Belk Bowl presser tomorrow. We'll have that covered for you, plus more from here and around the state. Thanks to everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.